Welcome everybody. I've lived in Delhi for a long time. If someone to ask me whether I would start my first event with this topic, probably in Delhi I would plan. I feel Chennai is a perfect place where people are very keen to listen to new ideas and they're very keen to participate, evolving new thinking, especially in the field of technology. One thing I always wondered that South is so good in the knowledge industry; they always score. But when it comes to national coverage and even coverage globally, I find often wanting, and especially the business coverage, especially the tech coverage, I find there could be more. So in Federal, we always look for areas which are hardly they're shadow areas, and I thought this was good also to begin with. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. AI it's a buzzword now. Everybody uses AI. So you would find even real estate companies are going to use AI now, thinking that they will sell more properties now. So AI is all everywhere you see this. Now the world of artificial intelligence is split in two right now. On the one hand, you have people, if you have to listen to all the babble or all the kind of talks that are coming from Silicon Valley, the circus masters there perhaps, if you listen to them, then so at an extremity, if you think like, listen to them, perhaps machines are going to replace human beings. That's at one level. But on the other level, there are people who are pretty skeptic and they think that it's just another technology. It is perhaps we have to start using it the way electricity, the way it evolved, or the industrial revolution, the way it changed the whole working pattern. It's simply that. I think, as always, truth lies somewhere in between. And I would, start with, the first question with Dinesh. As a chief product officer, you have a lot of experience. You have visited a lot of boardrooms. You have made presentations, perhaps. Where do you think right now? Where do you place this between two extremes? Where do you see AI now? What is your opinion?
First, thank you for inviting me to this, and it's a pleasure being part of the esteemed community here as well. As you said, so you probably talk about the paradigm shifts. At least I'm old enough to be part of three paradigm shifts. The first one being internet, and the next one the smartphones, and of course the cloud computing as well, right? Which actually took the software-driven models. But this paradigm is completely different than what we went through, right? People normally compare against when the automobiles were invented, right? The world around it changed, everything changed, right? But it's beyond that, in the sense, in every paradigm shift, it created a lot of new opportunities, right? But this paradigm is helping one set of folks to a lot of, especially people who are taking decisions, who are the visionaries. And it's also extremely difficult for the other set of folks who just follow the instructions, the doers. If you think about it, we have like thinkers and doers. Thinkers, it's a phenomenal achievement. It's going to improve the capability of the thinkers by 10x, 100x rather. But if you look at any organization, the majority of the folks are the doers, people who follow instructions. And AI is going to do that.
Yeah, normally it's 6 to 8%.
Yeah.
So AI would increase that percentage, or there'll be more doers?
There'll be less doers. AI is the doer. Right. I'll probably give an example, right? It's happened in our organization. Of course, there used to be a thing called cloud versions, right? When the cloud computing was invented, all the companies who were like having products, suddenly they deploy in the cloud service providers and say, I am a cloud product. Right? They didn't change anything. Just that instead of deploying in their own machines, they deployed in cloud. Right now, every company is calling their company as a AI company. They didn't change anything, right? They just put a layer of AI, stick a band-aid, right? And they call it an AI product. So so we don't want to get into the same. We don't want to put a band-aid. Rather, we want to build a new version of the product. Naturally, when you want to build a new version of the product, what do? You have a lot of discussions. You call your team, give them instruction, ask them to develop the product. Naturally, any new version takes time because a lot of translation involved. When you have more people, they need to translate to the next level, they need to translate to the next level, and they need to have 50 people working on the product. Instead, we said, be part of the founding team, we'll probably do it ourselves. What of the first version of the product, we wrote code like 10 years back. We are able to implement the first version of the product in 4 days. And we didn't write a single line of code. The code is generated. Because we know what we want. If you are clear about what you need, then AI will do it for you. And if you actually think about the thinkers or the decision makers, they exactly know what is needed. Majority of the time, you are may not able to get it done because they have team who need to do it for them. But with AI, the executive team or the leadership team will be able to do it themselves. And that's the major advantage of this.
Yeah, so in some, if I have to summarize in one line, I was saying that people in the boardroom really have to decide what is it they want to get out of this.
They know it because they're in the business.
Yeah. So I'll take you the next important issue here about AI adoption. How much companies are adopting this? I'll read out some numbers here. A team we studied revealed high AI adoption in pharma and healthcare, 50% in India, followed by 43% FMCG. Even manufacturing is around 28%, which I doubt. You can tell me that. And the Niti Aayog report makes a fantastic claim that 59% of large Indian enterprises, that's happening for over 1,000, report active AI deployment, highest among surveyed countries. So although they have done a survey, and then they are saying that the deployment is highest. But there are other surveys that suggest that while enthusiasm is high, AI is not embedded into most corporate strategy. So is it largely, when you say all this, when I listen to all this, is it largely at an exploratory stage? Or
Yes, it is. See, people may actually find it difficult to say agree to this, but if you look at, we probably understand what is AI adoption is. I'm 100% sure all of you are using ChatGPT or some LLM here, right? Does it mean we already adopted AI? Right? If you look at any enterprise for that matter, including ours, there are a lot of low-hanging fruits in the sense I want to automatically generate all the brochures using AI. Yeah, of course it's possible. I want my design or the video team or the marketing team to say it. It's possible. This is not AI adoption, right? You are using AI as a tool to do what a human is doing. We are not reimagining, right? And if you see, this is an adoption, this is happening everywhere. But the bigger value of AI is not using AI as a tool to do what we are doing. Because this is a new paradigm. I need to reimagine the way I am doing everything in my business and then use AI as a differentiator to do it better or not do it. Probably some steps are not even needed right now. Right? So I might actually replace that with AI. So that is what actual adoption is. But unfortunately, there's a significant, even if I go to my team, ask them to explore AI, the first answer is denial. Right? They are saying, okay, AI is inaccurate. It is not actually giving what I want. Right? And the next one is adoption, and then next is innovation. First they deny, then they use.
So how many companies you think, if you have a portfolio of companies, how many of them have gone to the next stage from, say, exploration to maybe some people must have started some kind of a pilot project. Some people have gone into some kind of operational.
But if you have to pinpoint how many are actually in the transformational stage,
Less than 10%. Because
10%.
transformation is difficult.
Yeah. Okay.
Transformation needs the founding team or the CXOs sitting together and then looking at how the business is run, right? And then reimagining everything. That is not an easy journey, right? So that's extremely difficult.
So, all that which we keep listening. So if you have to talk about diffusion of AI, so ChatGPT had 500 million followers. Does it mean that, you have to really make a distinction? How much is actually being put to use in a serious manner in an industry, and how much is only people looking at, maybe generating some poems or doing some minor translation work or getting some answers to some queries?
I don't want to trivialize the adoption. The adoption is important and serious. That said, it's not transformative. All right. There was a very, very familiar use case about a company called Klarna, a Swedish fintech company. I don't know how many of you heard of that, because Klarna used AI and then is able to replace 700 people support staff within the organization, right? But you know what happened now? Last week, they got them back. Not all of them, of course, right? But they said only AI is not helping, right? We need human in the loop for many of the cases. So that is transformation, because they completely want to rewire the way they run the business. Of course, there are challenges. So they are able to figure out a way to get out of that. But there are like handful of companies who are actually doing transformation at that scale.
Right.
Right. Pretty much all the other companies are replacing certain functions or certain ways of how they operate. Right. That's what they use AI.
So when you get into say a boardroom to make a presentation or something, when you're trying to acquire a client, what is the level of appreciation from the founders, from the board members? What is the level of their own understanding of AI, and how much they think it will affect them? Of course, I'll come later to that, the financial question, but even cultural aspect or dealing with humans. What is the kind of responses you receive from them? What are their, initial apprehensions, or when you present, what are the kind of, answers you get from them, or queries you get from them rather?
Okay. At least in my interactions, people understand the impact. It is not like they are trivializing the impact of AI. They know they need to change. They know the business models are even everything that is related to people working with them. Everything need to change. They understand the urgency as well. Just that it is a moving target. AI is changing every day. Right? It is extremely difficult to take decision without knowing where it's heading towards. Right?
Yeah. So that would be another element. We have seen so many changes since January after DeepSeek came. The whole Sam Altman perhaps went back to his drawing board and started looking at things that he didn't need to spend so much, because the reasoning became so easily available now along with LLMs. Now, when these kind of changes are happening and so rapidly happening, how do, in a boardroom, they would take a decision? So again, do you get a pushback on this?
So at least it's my philosophy, right? We need to run. AI is running. We need to run along with it. Otherwise, we'll be left behind, right? So things will change. We need to be extremely agile. If AI is changing, we need to change the direction and then again run. That's the only way to survive. At least that is my philosophy on that, because the pace in which the innovation is happening is unbelievable.
Right.
And if you don't keep track of that, and if you don't adopt it sooner, then there'll be others, our competitors, right? Or typical innovator's dilemma. There's a lot of new companies will actually end up killing us, right? So it's a survival challenge right now. So the only way is to continue to observe, adapt, and then run. I don't see any other.
Yeah, I'll take this question forward further. So what is the difference in approaches between the various sizes of companies, say small, medium, and large, who are more keen to adopt? I mean, I would imagine ideally startups would be more keen because there's nothing much
Yeah.
to use. But then what is that you see?
You answered the question. We are like a 350 member company. It's easy for us to adapt. We are very small, right? But again, if you look at the bigger company, it's like turning a ship. Even if you want to turn the ship by a few degrees, it's going to be extremely difficult, right? Because they have other priorities. Every function will have a different priority. We have an internal joke running. If you go to Google I/O, you see at least 20, 30 different products that is getting launched. But again, if you look at number of products that are actually used by the customers, it's very less. Because Google I/O is nothing but a presentation that is shared to Sundar Pichai a day before by like 10 different teams within Google, right? Everyone have their own priorities. Extremely difficult to channelize the energy in a bigger organization towards a common objective, right? That's where, again, going back to innovator's dilemma, that's the reason the startups end up killing the bigger companies.
Yeah.
Because startups don't have the baggage, right? They'll be able to
They can innovate very quickly. You see, the other important aspect for you is data. And what kind of challenges you face in getting a data? Because you see, there must be governance issues in some of the industries, especially if you're going to deal with something like banking or other financial intermediation, you will have some kind of an issue there because they have to deal with those laws as well, governance laws as well. So how much of data they're willing to part, especially when they're going to use open source, when they're going to build products for them, what kind of pushback you get there?
No, before that, the bigger challenge is availability of data itself. Right?
Right.
Because if you take any organization, they have like so many tools. There is nothing like a central data repository.
I agree.
See, unfortunately, for AI to work, you need to have data. Data that is in like one single place, data from across like different systems. Data, even if it is not structurally connected, at least should be logical connection between data. The bigger challenge in transformation, it's about I need to go and change, at least make sure the data is available. There is a central data warehouse or a data lake, right? Where data is available. And data security is the second problem, right?
Yeah, I don't think we have a very good culture of collecting data, and I mean that's a big gap in our.
Yeah.
So even in businesses, you might be facing that.
That's true.
But then you have new tools now. You can get. You need not get only structured, even unstructured data. You can use. You can get into what is called data lakes or some. These are expressions which you guys use. But are companies willing to invest in that?
It's a good question. The answer is they should.
Which means they are not.
There's a lot of companies who already invested in this, right? It's
Right.
A lot of big companies already invested in data lakes. They know this. They're like doing it for like many years now. But just that it is not quite prevalent, right? And if I have to compete in the new era, right, then I need to make that investment right now. I need to make sure the data is available in like one central place. And AI needs data to give insights. And if data is like spread across multiple different systems, data silos, then I'm not going to get insights because of AI. And but if you look at all these things, these are like huge transformations. This is not like tomorrow I will get it done, right? Someone need to have a conviction, believing this is very important for the future of the organization, and they need to invest in that. Only then, whatever power that we are trying to harness out of AI, I will be able to achieve that.
Right. So I'll come to a very different question. Workflows are very important for an organization to govern and to produce. Everywhere, you have to have a certain workflow, whether it is, a service sector or a manufacturing or anywhere. I imagine when I'm not a techie, but I imagine when you're trying to make algorithm out of that, and you must be asking about those processes because you're trying to mimic them in a way. You're going to ask them those questions, raise those questions to the middle management and the other who are supervisory. Aren't their question also come once this is settled? Are these same managers will be in a position to operate them because they're not going to be engineers? They would be perhaps thinking that they might lose their job. So how do you deal with these kind of contradictions?
Now, running business is as simple as that, right? We all have workflows. We are talking about an example of a very simple reimbursement request. Right? we don't take decisions based on facts and rules. There are AI can work only with data that is in the system, but if you look at any decision that we take every day, that is based on a lot of information that doesn't exist in the system, right? Well, talking about example, there are a lot of things that are connected. Of course, in Chennai flood, something happened to my car, and the service center, they need to get parts from a different country, and they said typically the ETA is like 15 days. Right? I know it's not possible because there is a war that is happening in Yemen. Right? It's a detour. It's going to take like 15 more days. But how will AI predict that information? Because this is not even connected. Any decision that we take in business every day is based on a lot of information that is not logically connected. I know this person, I can trust this person. If he submits something, I will go and approve because I know this person really well. Right? And he's going to probably Singapore. Singapore is like slightly more expensive than going to Mumbai, right? I don't have a rule in the system to define how much they should reimburse for this particular country. So there are a lot of decisions that we take based on the experiential knowledge that we have and an opinion I have about something, right? And that's where the AI will fail. So it's extremely important to use AI as an augmentation, right? I am doing something and AI is going to help me in doing it well. And I don't think AI will ever replace the managers who is defining the process. Because if everything goes by process, then we don't have to be here, right? The system will automatically run.
So that stage hasn't yet come. Would you say that? The next question, probably whenever it goes to boardroom, is about budgeting. And are they... there's an estimate that 67% of companies are spending less than 10% of what their IT budget is on AI initiatives. So when the spend is so low, with this kind of modest allocation, how do you expect, AI taking off? So how do you deal with this? How do you, kind of convince the board that, look, you need to invest more in this?
No, it again goes back to the transformation point that you're talking about, because when you're going to save a lot of money by reimagining how we are actually doing something, right? Yeah. That money need to go into AI. AI is expensive right now. It's not cheap. And then actually the cost will come down like any other technology advancement that's happening the last 20 years. But right now it's expensive. But again, if you look at the ROI, because I'm saving significant money through AI, so for that to happen, I need to invest in AI. Right? Probably that's
So when you say ROI, return on investment, but in a medium term, they'll have to lose some money.
They have to.
So are they prepared for that? Because are you able to show them a long-term goal?
It is about the kind of initiatives that you take. It's extremely difficult to go into a boardroom and saying, I need like $1 million.
Case study which you have come across where you
like
substantial savings have happened. I'm not even saying ROI, even savings.
Quite a few cases, a lot of very interesting cases as well. I don't know how much time we have, but again,
one case you can give.
Okay,
be more interesting.
One of the biggest oil and gas customers for us. All right, they did something that is very phenomenal in the sense they have fuel stations all across LATAM and Africa, and they need to take care of auditing, right? Because the fuel stations, for example, if someone is not refueling in like 10 minutes, then they need to initiate a trigger, right? And they have like cameras everywhere, and there are like a lot of restricted zones, and someone is moving inside the restriction zones, it might actually get a heavy penalty as well. So it will be immediately triggered a warning to the system as well. And they use AI to automate everything. Right? What used to take months or what used to result in heavy penalties, right now they are actually getting triggers immediately.
Right.
And this is not something very complex as well. These are like very simple implementations. It is not like very expensive as well. So we are having a conversation about how to use AI. The bigger need in AI is to know what to do with AI. If you know what the problems that they need to solve through AI, solving is quite easy, right? That doesn't need any organization to build their own LLMs or anything like that, foundational models, right? Everything is available right there. As long as you know what to do with AI, you'll be able to do it. So when you go to the boardroom, it is about picking the challenges that result in significant cost,
Right.
and then convince them on the investment in AI.
Yeah, I'll come to a final question. The issue of regulation. In the US, Elon Musk doesn't want, he is against it. Europeans are very particular about it. What about India? We don't even have any basic framework. Is even the conversation.
What will you regulate? See, we
or
don't
do you
have.
think it hasn't even reached that stage?
It's not haven't reached the stage yet. First, we need to have roads. Then we'll think about signals and lanes, right? AI at a stage where we don't know where it is even heading towards, right? It's extremely difficult to put any regulation or rules right now.
No, but you see, I agree that regulation, do you think regulation should come later, or at some level they have to start thinking about it, isn't it?
Thinking is continuous process, right? People are continuously thinking about how to regulate everything, but it is too early, I guess, right? We need to. There's a significant risk involved. I am not denying that fact, but again, the pace in which it is progressing, it's extremely difficult to put any guardrails around whatever that is happening. Right, we need to probably wait for some time, or probably use AI to regulate.
So
AI.
one good example I heard is about automobiles. So they perhaps said that when the early automobile revolution happened, they haven't thought of any kind of regulation. So only later, when the accident began to happen, when the auto companies started thinking of doing that. But are you going to wait, because AI is going to change things very fast? That's what I'm hearing. So, do you have that kind of time period
No,
with you?
I'm not saying people are not implementing guardrails. The guardrails are always part of the system. Everyone, at least I am from the Terminator era, right? So there is always a kill switch in all LLMs. When you talk to any company, Google or OpenAI, they talk about the kill switch, right? Multiple levels of prevention they have in AI. But it's for me, in the advancement that is happening in AI, this is like very small check. Not say. I think AI will easily overcome any controls that we have at this point in time, right? We are not at a stage where you're able to grasp where this is heading towards to put the right amount of guardrails and regulations to control that.
Yeah. So one final question. According to Demis Hassabis, he's one of the Nobel laureates. He says AGI is an overused term. It needs to be consistent across the board. It has lots of holes. So this is the same guy who has done, AlphaGo, AlphaFold. And now there are other things which he's also trying to bring. AlphaEvolve is kind of an intelligent model. It will actually reread and kind of self-improve even the various codes. In fact, he's even saying that, hallucination is also good. It's creativity. So there's so much he's saying. But then do you think that AGI as a term is being overused without understanding its meaning? Because he himself says that definition is not very clear. Each person seems to having, in my view, their own level of AGI understanding.
No, there is no single definition for AGI, and it is not like one day someone will say, okay, now we have achieved AGI. It's an evolving process, right? So this again goes back to what we believe as intelligence, because so when do you see someone as intelligent? You ask a question, they are able to give an answer that actually convinces you, right? Because this guy knows more than what I know, right? I'm getting something new from this person. How do they know it? Because they listen to a lot of podcasts, they grasp information. So they have more dots in their mind. So they're able to connect those dots and give an information that convinces you. Yeah. And if you think about intelligence in that manner, who holds most number of dots? LLMs.
So biological intelligence is still far above than machine intelligence.
There are a lot of things that machines won't be able to do.
Yeah. Okay.
But if we just look at...
I think it's a very interesting topic. I think it will go on and on if we... finally, I'll end with one. There's so many things, other things happening. Very interesting. I heard even one Anthropic chief product officer was asked a question about his Mike Krieger, that some of his codes begin to blackmail him.
Yeah, please.
So even that's very interesting. But I think we have to conclude. We have a definite time here. But I'll conclude saying I think it's a great time for people like you, computer scientists and those practitioners of computer. It's perhaps a very good time for you guys.
No, it's a great time for all the thinkers, right? Pretty much all the folks over here are at a very senior position who take decisions, right? If you have a vision and if you say, okay, it's extremely difficult to translate the vision into reality because I need to translate to so many levels. Right now, the power is in our hands, right? We'll be able to actually use AI as an assistant to get that done. And that's where I see the value as well.
Yeah.